Hey, welcome to Module 5, last Locke Module. Woohoo. So, Misfits, what happened to the prince?
Well, all I know is that there's a lot of gratuitous exclamation and question marks on
It's because
this
it's
slide.
such a intense question.
I guess. Yep. So the memories of the prince go into the body of the cobbler,
Sure do.
and the memories of the cobbler go into the body of the prince.
But who is now the person of the prince?
Who is the person of the prince? The memories of the prince are the person of the prince in the body of the cobbler.
Trippy. Good one, Locke. So this quote's taken from paragraph 20, and basically today what we're going to be looking at is two objections he raises against himself and then responds to. So the first one is this, and it's to do with if you lose memories permanently. So suppose I wholly lose the memory of some parts of my life beyond a possibility of retrieving them, so that perhaps I shall never be, maybe, conscious of them again. Yet am I not the same person that did those actions or had those thoughts, but have now forgot them?
Alright, so he's raising this as a possible objection to his own theory.
Yes. So he's saying, I'm saying that memories determine identity, but hang on, what if I've lost one of those memories? Is the person who initially experienced that memory the same person as I am now?
Because so say you experienced eating a cake. Yep. Okay, so your body ate the cake.
Yes.
But now you've lost the memory of eating the cake.
Yeah.
So the potential objection is, isn't it obvious that you're the same person who ate the cake?
Yes.
And therefore personal identity isn't just memory.
No.
What's Locke going to say to that?
Well, we will see. He would say, Misfits, that in this case, it's only the man that ate the cake that stays the same. Like, as in terms of his body, his identity
weird.
as a man, as a particular man. And it's the different memories. So, sorry, those different memories, or the lack of memories, are actually different persons.
So
it wasn't me. So if I'm the one who lost that memory of eating that cake, it wasn't actually me who ate that cake. It was another person.
You're a different person than the person that ate the cake, but you're the same man as the man that ate the cake.
Maybe I should just eat lots of junk food and then have some weird, like, hypnosis or something.
No, but your physical body will still suffer.
Lame.
Okay. To me, this seems very artificial. Like, alright, I mean, we can imagine that there's these two different things, a man and a person. But is that really kind of what we're getting at? Like...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is dodgy. Well, one of the things we were looking at in class today with one of the philosophers who objected to Locke was that he was saying that, it's actually quite a dangerous, really, theory, because there's so many things that could kind of chip away at your identity in terms of, like, losing things or having false memories we talked about today.
Okay,
And then, like, what are you really left with? And, like, focusing on something like the body or the soul provides you with, like, a much more substantial thing that
Stable
you can actually
kind of
trace
identity.
through time. Yeah. So, because he would actually say, Locke would say that my body has actually then, if this is further proof to him that your body or your man, your physical identity, can have different persons within it across time. So, like, and I think that's I can kind of agree with that most in terms of, like, little kids.
Yeah.
Because, like, you end up forgetting, like, basically everything. Unless it's probably some really, like, intense, traumatic
also
memory.
argue that if you lose your memory towards the end of your life, you become a different person.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would kind of agree with that. If a grandparent has...
Or, like, if your
terrible
parents
dementia.
in, like, the 60s or 70s were huge druggos.
Okay.
And they could say, now that they're not huge druggos, they're different persons. Because maybe they've forgotten everything because of the drugs.
Yeah, maybe.
Miss Fitz is giving me a very sceptical look. Where's the support?
Well, I just want to clarify that you're not actually talking about my parents.
No. Well,
but,
no. My parents, maybe.
Here are some scenarios where the whole different persons thing in the same body could work.
Yes.
But we're saying that it doesn't seem to work in all the normal cases where you just lose a memory.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, so he briefly cites in the text this kind of evidence to back up, and that's the insanity defense in criminal law. So basically what he's saying is that because in law, if you are so insane that you do not remember certain acts, so say like schizophrenia or maybe extreme like bipolar syndrome or something like that, where you're doing stuff and you're having episodes where you're doing things and you don't remember doing them when you're back in your thing, that the law would say you're not responsible and you're not guilty of doing those things.
Yeah, this is what actually happens in our legal system.
Yeah.
You can get away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's saying because law says that, and that's how law works, then that's confirming for him that that person, that insane person who's doing that wrong thing, and that person who's still, I guess, insane, but who didn't know that they did the wrong thing and wasn't conscious of doing the wrong thing, they're different persons.
So
because they're different at law, that means that beyond law, in the grand scheme of things, they must be different persons.
Would an example be someone with schizophrenia who went into, I wish I knew the right terms, but went into an episode of kind of being this, not being themselves, and committed a crime.
Multiple personality disorder.
Maybe that's a better example. So say multiple personality disorder. In one personality, you commit a crime. Then you flip back into the other personality. I'm simplifying, but then that personality is a different person than the person who committed the crime.
Yes.
And he's saying this backs up his theory.
Yes.
Yeah. So Locke has just responded to one potential objection to his theory of memory as personal identity. That objection was that if you lose memories, does that mean you're not the same person as you were when you had the memories? Locke said, actually, you are different people. And he backed himself up with an example from the law, where he said the law treats an insane person as different from kind of the sane version of themselves. Because I guess the reason he's giving there is the law treats the insane person as different because the sane person has no memory of what they did when they were insane. Therefore, this memory thing is the answer. Okay, now he's about to face a second objection to his theory about memory. And this objection kind of flows on from the objection we've just talked about. So he's just used this example of the law backing him up and saying that an insane person is different from a sane person. But then I might say, well, doesn't... actually, the law also says that a drunk person is actually the same as that person when they're sober. So even though the law says an insane person is different from the person when they're sane, it actually doesn't make that distinction with drunkenness.
They're still the same person.
So
even though they would have different memories, so under Locke's, what he was saying with the last objection, that would mean for him, usually, he would say that they're different people because of those different memories. But the law isn't doing that, like it did last time.
So my objection to Locke is, why doesn't the law treat...
Well, it's saying, well, then surely it's not based on memories.
Surely it's not. Okay.
Because if here's a final example of where they are the same person, even though they have different memories.
Yeah, so if you're drunk, you might forget stuff and then become sober again, but the law treats you as the same person, so there must be more to it than memories. How is Locke going to respond to this?
So basically his response is that, well, the law's doing what it can. And here's a really interesting kind of conclusion that he's coming to, or implication of his argument that he's coming to. And it's that from a third person perspective, there is no way you're going to really know the actual consciousness going on in the body. So he's ultimately saying that his whole theory, that it's based on memories and consciousness, that you identify somebody based on that, is purely something from a first person perspective. It's purely how you identify you as you. And how you say that I know that I'm different from other people and I know that I'm the same person.
Okay.
It's not his way of saying that he's acknowledging that it's going to be very hard for somebody else, so from a third person perspective, to be able to identify you as you based on your consciousness.
Yeah.
So for that reason, in this drunk person example, the law is going to treat you as the same person because it's going to only be able to look at your physical, your external, so your identity as a particular man or human.
Yeah.
Okay, as opposed to your identity as a actual person.
So, but like I would jump in there and say, isn't that the same with the insanity?
That is used earlier, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think with that, he would say that insanity, because it's an illness and because there would be a lot of research, well, there's a whole range of illnesses, and because there's research and it's been... So you can, one, diagnose the person as having a particular illness, and you can then, based on the research and knowledge, have an understanding of the consequences of that in terms of their memory and in terms of their consciousness.
So Locke is saying... So I interrupted you, but Locke is saying that it does all come down to memory.
Yes.
It's just that with insanity, it's easier to tell that they're not mentally connected to the insane person.
Yeah.
With drunkenness, you don't really know.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, well, you've forgotten everything that you did when you were
Well, it's
drunk.
hard for a third person to tell that.
Yeah. Okay. So...
You will probably know.
So the law, if the law could see inside your head...
Yeah.
And if when you were drunk you'd forgotten everything that you did...
Yeah. It would treat you as different people.
Yeah, but the law can't do that. It
No.
can only make kind of really clumsy judgments.
Yeah.
And so we kind of assume that you at least have some memories.
Yeah.
And therefore we treat you as the same person because we assume you're mentally connected.
Yes. Okay.
Interesting and complicated.
Yeah. So ultimately how he deals with this objection of the drunk person is actually to accept it in many ways, but to, to make it contingent, or make it purely based on that third person account. So he's ultimately having to, he's ultimately, I guess, having to cut that third person account from his theory and accept that his theory is from a purely first person perspective.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a concession on his part, I guess. But he does have another little final thought on this. So he adds at the very end here that...
I love this.
That, okay, while to that third person you might be guilty of, I don't know, spewing on something or doing something silly when you're drunk... That when, in the great day, he refers to it at, so I guess it's like, if an apocalypse happens and God comes down and judges you...
I think it's like the pearly gates.
Yeah, so maybe when you're going to heaven or something like that. Wherein the secrets of all our hearts shall be laid open. It may be reasonable to think, no one shall be made to answer for what he knows nothing of. So if you didn't remember spewing on that person when you were drunk... then ultimately, when you get to the apocalypse or the pearly gates or whatever, you won't be responsible for it.
Well, that's very interesting, and this is like a rare instance where he expresses something quite nicely. But I don't think I agree with this. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. If you do something when you're drunk...
Yeah, well, I think drunk
aren't you still responsible for becoming drunk in the first place?
Yes, that would be a good line of argument, Ms. Fitz, but let's just ponder that.
All right, let's ponder.
Okay, farewell.
Goodbye.